Hello everybody, my name is Tanya and welcome to the 6th and final installment of my bookshelf tour. So first up is my set of Marcel Proust's In Search of Lost Time or Remembrance of Things Past, depending on which edition you have. I've got it split out into 6 volumes and they are Swan's Way, Within a Budding Grove, The Gamantes Way, Sodom and Gomorrah, The Captive and Fugitive, and lastly Time Regained. Next up we have several books by Alexandre Dumas, starting with The Black Tulip, The Last Cavalier. Then there's his D'Artagnan romances starting with Three Musketeers, and I would love to have a matching set of these someday, but I haven't been able to find nice editions where they all match, so I've just kind of got them all in a hodgepodge at the moment. Maybe one day somebody will put out a set, but I don't know, the latter books don't seem to be all that well known. But anyway, we start with The Three Musketeers, followed by 20 Years After, Louise de la Valliere, The Vicomte de Bragelonne, and then lastly The Man in the Iron Mask. And lastly by Alexandre Dumas, Le Reine Margot. Next up is Night by Ali Wiesel, The Amazing Adventures of Cavalier and Clay by Michael Chabon, Midnight's Children by Salman Rushdie. This is the edition that I have, so I don't have the matching copy that goes with the Book of Prize set that I showed in my 4th bookshelf tour, as it matches my copy of the Satanic Verses. The Ravishing of Lost Time by Marguerite Duras, and then some more of the Vintage Red Spine editions. He's Afraid of Virginia Woolf by Edward Albee, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and Other Stories by Robert Louis Stevenson, Cry the Beloved Country by Ellen Peyton, The Collector by John Fowles, and lastly The Joy Luck Club by Amy Tan. On the next shelf we get into J.R. Tolkien territory, so I have Tree and Leaf, Smith and Wooten Major, and The Homecoming of Beorhtnoth. And this is another ugly second-hand edition, not quite so mouldy as the one that I showed in my birthday book haul that I replaced with these little editions here. So I have to work out whether I can get a nicer edition of these stories. Next is The Silmarillion, and again this is a small second-hand copy that I might search for a nicer edition of, but do need to get around to reading first probably. The Children of Húrin, The Legend of Sigurd and Gudrun, The Hobbit, The Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, and Return of the King. And I've spoken about these before, but I like these editions in particular because they're Tolkien's original designs. Although I do own the cloth-bound box set of The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings, which is glorious, but I'll always love these editions too. Next up you can see my gorgeous little hardcover collections that I showed 2 of in my birthday book haul and the one that I got for Christmas. And they're Farmer Giles of Ham, The Adventures of Tom Bombadil, and Rover Random. And so I really need to check out whether there are any other stories that are published in these editions. Next up is the Tales of the Tory series by Leon Hearn, and for some reason when I was purchasing them I bought them in these funny little 2-volume sets. So the first book is Across the Nightingale Floor, so we've got Part 1, The Sword of the Warrior, and Part 2, Journey to Inuyama. Book 2 is Christopher's Pillow, so we have Lord Fujiwara's Treasures and The Way Through the Snow. Book 3 is Brilliance of the Moon, and so we've got Volume 1, Battle for Moyama, and Part 2, Scars of Victory. Then for book 4 I go to this big hardcover which really matches, and that is The Harsh Cry of the Heron. And then the last book, which is a prequel, Heaven's Net is Wide. Then we've got The Road by Cormac McCarthy, The Help by Catherine Stockett, Magician by Raymond E. Feast, Rashomon and 17 Other Stories by Runosuke Itokugawa, and I'm sure that was butchered. And so will anything I say now. So we have The Dream of the Red Chamber by Kao Zukun. And I apologise for all the butchering. These are huge, big Chinese classics, and I'm really excited to get to them someday. I just quite haven't got there yet. The Romance of Three Kingdoms, which comes in 2 volumes by Lo Quan Chang. And lastly, The Water Margin, Outlaws of the Marsh by Shi Nayan. And then this last shelf is largely a huge Janet Ivanovich collection. We've got up to book 19 of her Stephanie Plum series, and I've got these in a variety of editions. So they are 1 for the Money, 2 for the Dough, 3 to Get Deadly, 4 to Score, High 5, Hot 6, 7 Up, Hard 8, To the Nines, 10 Big Ones, 11 on Top, 12 Sharp, Lean Mean 13, Fearless 14, Finger Lickin' 15, Sizzling 16, And I'm not quite sure why I've got them shelved like this, because the next few are between the numbers novellas, which actually belong either further back in the set or towards the end. So obviously I've just had them at the end and then I've been throwing in the later novels afterwards. Whatever. So we have Visions of Sugar Plums, Plum Lovin', Plum Lucky, and Plum Spooky. Then back to the normal numbering with Smokin' 17, Explosive 18, and Notorious 19. Then 2 books in another series, Metro Girl and Motormouth, and then the first in another series, Wicked Appetite. Then I've got the Millennium Trilogy by Stieg Larsson, starting with The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, The Girl Who Played with Fire, and The Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest, and last but not least, The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak. So as I mentioned previously, this is by no means my full collection of books. I have a lot of books in storage that have never come out of storage since I've moved, so they're all in the garage, and I've got other books that need to go in storage because I've filled up these shelves. I hope you enjoyed getting a closer glimpse of my bookshelves, as they're not featured in most of my videos. It's nice to get out here and be able to show what I've got. So as always, thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!